Good afternoon to one and all. Welcome you all for the second session of afternoon. I wholeheartedly welcome our today's speaker, Shri Gajanana Londhe, Executive Director, Samvit Research Foundation, Head of Strategy and Transformation at Nokia, Bangalore for this session. I welcome you, sir.
Gajanan sir.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Okay.
Please unmute your video also, sir.
Yes, sure. Perfect. So
I,
thank you
wel-
so much.
okay. I welcome deans, HODs, staffs of various departments and students to join this program. I welcome you all. Now I request Bhanupriya Ji, Assistant Professor, Department of Mathematics, to introduce our keynote speaker, Shri Gajanana Londhe sir, to the gathering. Over to you, Bhanupriya ma'am.
Good afternoon, one and all. Shri Gajanan Londhe is the founding member of Samvit Research Foundation and serves as its executive director. Sir is an engineer by profession with a zeal to improve education in our country. Sir is part of various initiatives which educationists and scholars to collaborate and expand learning from successful experiments for the benefit of a large number of schools across India. At Rashtrotana Parishad, Sir leads the education cell of Rashtrotana CBSE schools, which is responsible for designing common academic framework based on Panchamuki Shikshana and the associated teacher development to promote education for all-round development of children. Sir has 27 years of corporate experience working for software MNCs besides a short stint as an entrepreneur. On the behalf of ATME College of Engineering, I heartily welcome our speaker, Shri Gajanan Londhe, to today's session. I welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bhanupriya ma'am. I request Shri Gajanana Londhe sir to address the gathering about NEP 2020 overview and opportunities. Over to you, sir.
So namaste to all of you. Uh, Good afternoon. All honorable teaching members, faculty, and students of an engineering institute. When I say this engineering institute, for me, a lot of my focus is on the school education on one side, and also I have professional experience being an engineer for almost 27 years now, working in MNCs, also having my own company. So here you have your innovation council, for your engineering college. So I can very well connect from the engineering and the innovation, and also to run a business, what entrepreneurship really means. So I can connect in various ways with the audience today. So thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to talk to students. It is always refreshing to talk to, in some way, in industry, we say new blood, where new ideas are there, a new energy is there. So fortunate enough to talk to you. Thank you, Ratnakar sir, and all the members of college. Today's topic is on national education policy. For few months now, all of us are hearing about national education policy, right from our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji to Dr. Kasturi Rangan ji, who was the chairman of NEP drafting committee, and our education minister. He is talking almost every week. There is one article on what will transform by having this new education policy. For students, there will be an anxiety, I would say, that what is changing for me. For educators, for school teachers, for professors, for school management, for government, there are many things which we need to look at. We need to understand what is given in this national education policy, and then we should think of what we should change, because change doesn't only happen through government. Like education minister is not the only person who is responsible for implementing all the changes which are recommended in NEP. So today I will try to structure my talk in three major areas. So one is about the background. What is policy? Does policy mean government law, or is it some rule which is told to implement? What does policy really mean? Then I'll also try to cover a little bit of a background about education in our country, recent background, and then I'll focus on few important changes which policy recommends in school education. The school education is very important, especially for the foundational part of our entire personality development, which includes our left brain, right brain development, which includes some of our we say hard wiring of our neurons, which define our subconscious behavior. So a lot of things happen in school education which are impacting your education in engineering college now. So what you are today is made up, you're made up of what education you got in your school, and also largely what education you got at your home.
Sir, Gajanan sir, you have been muted. Can you please unmute yourself, sir? Somebody muted unknowingly. Sorry for that inconvenience. Priyanka madam,
Yes, sir.
make Gajanan sir presenter. All of us are
Yeah.
unmuted.
Yes. I'm doing, sir.
Ramchandra, can you please mute yourself?
Yes, sir. I did, sir.
No, madam, he has unmuted again.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, now
Thank you.
right.
Okay, I did not realize this. I don't know what you heard of. So I will just start from the last point I was trying to say. The first point, I'll talk about the background of education and what policies, and then I'll focus on school education, important changes. And then we will talk about specific changes in higher education, which will to some extent directly impact you even when you're studying in engineering college. But largely it will impact students who will be coming in a few years from now. Then I will also try to focus on the research aspect, because your cell is innovation cell and for entrepreneurship development. So what policy has given for research and for entrepreneurs. I'll try to finish this in around 30 minutes. After that, we'll have ample time for question and answers. I've seen in these NEP sessions, there will be a lot of questions towards the end, and one question leads to another question. So we'll have enough time for interaction. So when I'm speaking, please write down your questions, whatever you have not understood or you have new thoughts you want to share. So please write them down. Towards the end, we will take all the questions. When we talk of education policy, it means a document which is prepared by experts about the future education or education system of any country. So for India, this is a third education policy. Our first policy came in 1968. Second one came in 1986. And after a gap of 34 years, we are getting this policy, which is NEP 2020. So NEP 2020 is significant from many ways. See, every policy, whether it was 1968 policy, the state of nation or the state of education in country was at some level. So if we look at state of education in our country, I don't want to go far off where we say we were the most educated civilization on this earth, when people were stone gatherers or hunters. We had already great scriptures like Vedas and so many shastras written. So from that time, education was really focused, was a center part of our culture. Our culture, when we say Bharat, Bha is that education. So our country, our whole civilization was known for education. So if in the world, if you take any country, if you take, say, Germany, the moment we think of Germany, we think of technology, or we think of structured approach. If we think of Japan, we think of details, we think of art, artistic things, right? So every nation has a personality. So our nation has a personality of seekings, that is research or knowledge. So knowledge was really center for thousands of years. But in 1791, around early 1800, there was a big change which happened. That change was the introduction of English education. So in our country, every village, there was education, gurukulas, and so many types of systems were there, including large universities. Today we talk of MITs and Harvard and Stanford. So these universities are top ranking. So like this, out of say 10 top universities in the world, 8 or 9 were from India. So from that state, very ubiquitous and large scale education was normal life. In early 1800, when the law came from Britishers that English education will be supported more. So only English education, English schools got grants, and other school grants were reduced. So a lot of schools got closed. And then people who could speak English and English educated people started getting higher jobs like IAS, ICS. So all these jobs were given to English speaking people. So English became language of elites. So because of this one change in 100 years, we saw drastic drop in literacy rate in our country. So in 1930, 32, 33, when Gandhiji was in England for roundtable conference, there the people, British officers, they said India's literacy rate, which is 15% or something at that time, is very low, and we need to do something about it. So that time Gandhiji made one statement. He said that we were much more literate 100 years back. That means in early 19th century, that is 1800s. Then the British officers told them, what is the proof for this? He said, look into your own records. And then Gandhiji added, saying that you have cut the roots of a beautiful tree and let it decay. Now, this statement of Gandhiji was picked up by Dharampal, and Dharampalji has written one book called Beautiful Tree, which I recommend that everybody in education field should read this book. You get a PDF also, The Beautiful Tree. Now, this book has education system in our country before early 1800. And it is really astonishing to see the numbers. He has done research for 6 years. He went to Amsterdam, he went to England, he was in Chennai, Kolkata, and he looked at all the archives and got all the data of surveys which were done in early 1800. You will be astonished to read that. Today is not the session to discuss that, but I recommend you read that book and also discuss in your forums. Now, from that time, when education in say early 1900, where literacy rate has dropped significantly, we got independence in mid 1900, 1947. So our priority was increasing the literacy. So literacy is people should read and write. So our initial focus of education was primary education, and at the same time there was focus on improving higher education, starting new universities. Even IITs were started in 50s, IIMs were started in 60s. So on one side, higher education was improved. Other side, the primary education was focused. That time we were not having any education policy. Then when the first policy came in 1968, the focus was more on integration, because we had so many languages. First time 3-language policy was proposed, and then there was focus on economic development as well as cultural integration. So with that focus, many structural changes like secondary board was introduced. Whatever we see now, we have higher secondary board and secondary board. So those type of constructs were introduced, and whole system of education was put in place for secondary education and also the higher education. Then in 1986, there was another big policy change which came in. This was our second education policy. That time, there was a lot of focus on equality. Like we had many people in our country who did not get access to education. So a lot of recruitment of teachers from the we can say socially challenged sectors of our country, they got as recruitment as teachers, and many rural universities were started, and also there was focus on giving scholarships to people from economically and socially challenged backgrounds. So that was focus of 1986. So if you see at every stage in education, people from the policy perspective who are deciding on it, they take the contemporary issue, what we should change, what challenges we are facing. Similarly, after 34 years, when this education policy 2020 was being drafted, there was one theme for this policy, and that theme was aspiration. Aspiration for India in 21st century. How we should be in 21st century. This policy should prepare us to really lead in 21st century. So that was the focus of this National Education Policy 2020. So it is forward looking. It is now going beyond the challenges. We all know today what we have in our country, education is sufficient. We have large scale education. It is there in in all nooks and corners, many universities, more than 40,000 colleges. So the number wise, we are fine. 16 and a half lakh schools are there. So that is not the focus of policy. So policy says, how can we prepare for 21st century? So very important from that perspective. Second important thing for this policy was consultative approach. So it was not done by a committee who come from different backgrounds. Dr. Kasturi Ranganji is there, M.K. Sridharji is there, then Dr. Manjul Bhargav, who is a Fields Medal in mathematics, he was there. And then we had people from different backgrounds. So they formed the committee of NEP. When they started, they invited suggestions from grassroots level, from panchayat, town, district, block officers, and even from the state governments, the state boards, and even from various organizations like from UGC, AICTE, and from many other organizations who are doing research and thinking on education. So initially, more than at least 46,000 major inputs came, and many thousands of single inputs came. So this is one important aspect of this policy. And at every stage, there was consultation. So initially, when these proposals were put for us from Samvit Research Foundation, we were linked, I would say, with the whole process. We gave 6 proposals, quite elaborate proposals, more than 150 pages. We have created details on these proposals and shared, and we are happy that some of the points what we have mentioned, they are there in the policy in some form. I'm sure many people would have also given similar things. So that is very nice part, like people from Samvit feel this. So I'm sure many people across the country feel that this is my policy. There are a lot of inputs from our organization, our schools, or my inputs have gone into policy. Apart from being aspirational, leading in 21st century, and consultative process, this policy also deals with the we can say the best of both worlds. What was really good in our country, which is relevant even today for us and for the world, and what is there 21st century skills, what we should have. So both are very beautifully integrated into this policy. So this is overall, you can say a background about national education policy. I'm sure there will be many questions on how these changes will implement as I talk about the changes. So one high level statement: policies are recommendations. These policies then are taken by different agencies for implementation. So implementation happens over a period of time. So even changes recommended in this policy will be implemented over next 10-15 years. Some will happen immediately. Some of them have already happened. Some are happening. Some will happen in next couple of years, and some will take longer time, which are structural changes. So this is overview. Now going to the school part of it. There is one very important change in school education. Today's education is 10 plus 2, that is 10 years of schooling and 2 years of pre-university college, we say PUC, or 11th and 12th. And after that, we go for graduation. One more point in current education is our pre-primary education is not part of formal education. It is under Women and Child Welfare Department, Anganwadis we normally call. This policy has changed the structure of 10 plus 2 into 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. This formula you will hear quite often. 5 years of foundation education. So this is up to age 8. That is from pre-primary, that 3 years of age. So 3 to 6 is pre-primary, class 1 and 2. It's up to age 8, 3 years to 8 years. This 5 years of education is very important for we, in the psychological terms, we say that for creating all the nerve connections or all the hardwiring which happens at this time. From a cultural perspective, we say samskaras, development of habits, development of our attitudes. All of this happens in the early education. And also there is a lot of development of language and numeracy, mathematical ability. So that is the focus in this early age. Then class 3 to 5 is your elementary education, where we are preparing for learning science and social science in class 6 onwards. So 3 to 5 is preparing for the upper primary education. 6 to 8 is where there is one change which has come. That is introduction of vocational education. So there is a list of vocations which children will learn. So when we look at education, it's not only in cities like Bangalore, where our country is so vast. We have people living, Vanavasis living in really remote places. Then we have villages and towns and cities and metros. So in all places, the system should work. So there will be children who would like to work, learn more of vocation. Even children in cities can learn vocation. So these vocational skill development subjects are introduced from 6th. And from 9th to 12th, there is one important change which is proposed. That is flexibility of choosing different subjects. Today, 5 core subjects are compulsory for all. And then, that is considered as passing percent, whatever passing marks we have to have. So we need to have in these core subjects. So in policy, there is suggestion of different subjects apart from these core subjects children can choose. So children can choose, for example, music as one of the subjects they want to have as a core subject in high school. And then maybe they say, okay, maths is not something I would really like to perceive in higher education. So I would choose some vocation instead of that. So this flexibility and choice is given in high school. So this is about school education from the structure perspective. There are many other important changes which are suggested, which I will not deal in details, but the assessment part is changing. There are beautiful suggestions on 360-degree assessment, and then there are suggestions on peer tutoring. There are suggestions on cross-curricular learning. There are suggestions on Bharatiya thoughts, including knowledge of India. Then there are suggestions on experimental learning, reducing the curriculum. So a lot of these changes are there with the intent of reducing the content given to children and improving the abilities of the children. So focus on abilities, focus on experience, focus on the real knowledge, and reduce on content. Because content you all know very well. Just you type in Google, you get the best content in the world. No teacher in the world can give as good content which is available on the internet. So reduce focus on content, improve on ability. So that is the core focus of school education. Now coming to the third part of talk today. This third talk is on higher education. So there are drastic changes suggested in higher education. I would pick, three main areas where changes are suggested. Number one area is liberal education or liberal arts education. Second change is interdisciplinary approach. And third is focus on research. So the first one is about liberal arts. So today we see our education has streams. We have streams like arts, commerce, science. Then we have professional education where we have engineering, law, medical, and other professions. So in each of these streams, there are fixed subjects. When you go to science, we have to learn only science. We have to learn physics, chemistry, biology, electronics, whatever. When we go to arts, we have to study only humanities parts. When we go to commerce, we have to study only commerce related subjects. But if somebody is interested in chemistry and history, we do not have a system like this. Similarly, if somebody wants maths and music, so what we have done our system today, actually, if you look at our brain, we have left brain and right brain. So we have compartmentalized learning and made it very focused, but it is in silos. So this system has, the new education policy has recommended liberal arts education where children can choose any topic. So for degree, children can choose different topics. They can have maths on one side and they can choose any humanities if they want, or they can choose maths and Samskrita. So a lot of these possibilities are there. With this possibility, the children, there will be balanced development of, through humanities, we say there's a right brain development, and through STEM courses we have, right? So science, technology, engineering, math. So through that STEM courses, our analytical ability or logical intelligence, those things are built. For creativity, you need the right brain development. So this balanced development happens through this liberal education. So apart from this liberal education, there is one more important change suggested, which is multiple entry and exit points. So what this policy recommends is, you can say, start engineering. I'm taking an example. So start engineering, and then after 2 years, you feel that you should do something else, take a break in education, or there is some difficulty in family, challenges, and you have to work. There will be many children who face this situation. So in this case, children can opt out. Students can go out after 2 years. They will get a certificate of 2 years completion, and they can work for some time. Once their family condition is better, they can rejoin education, not from the beginning, but from third year. So after completion, say 3 years, somebody has to go out. They will get a diploma. After completion of 4 years, they will get engineering. This is engineering example. Similarly for BSc, like what we have. So for a graduation program, somebody completes say 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. So they will get diplomas, they will get degree, they will get degree with research. Even the BSc, BA, BCom, those all these children will get now degree in liberal arts, but it will be 4 years degree like engineering. And if they complete 3 years, they will get graduation. If they complete 4th year, which will be research oriented thesis they have to write, so they will get degree with research. So this is one important change on flexibility, which is we call liberal education, is provided. The second important part is multidisciplinary. Now here, whether it is multidisciplinary research or overall the organization itself structurally will go through a big change. In engineering, there will be subjects of humanities which will be taught to children. And this is with purpose. The purpose is full development should happen. There will be flexibility, there will be choice, curriculum and everything will get defined. But you will have choice to have, say, some of you might be interested in music. So you can take music as one of the subjects in engineering. Now, that is the change which will bring to the lives of students. Some of you may like economics. So you can have economics along with your engineering major. Okay. So these type of things will come. How they will come, we will see. There will be implementation plan for it. Third important focus in higher education is on research. For research, there are few structural changes done, and also there is a change done in school education which will impact research. In school education, primary education is made, there is a recommendation that it should be in mother tongue or the regional language. The reason for this change is, if we study in our mother tongue, there is a lot of, in Hindi we call sahajta. There is very easily, naturally, we learn concepts. And our originality, our original thought is strengthened in the early childhood, which is very important for research. If we have original thought, I'm sure in your research cell and your entrepreneurship development cell, you are discussing about this. Research cannot be copied. Innovation cannot be copied. Innovation needs original thought. So this comes if our primary education is in mother tongue. That is one. Second thing which is brought at school level and also at college level is Bharat-centric education. So this policy on the first page says this is Bharat-centric. Now, what Bharat-centric means, it is rooted to our culture, our society. So children will have a lot of exposure. There will be compulsory projects where one credit course will be to go and get exposure in society. Now, this looks like, what will I learn in society? But we have seen many innovations happen when you experience what is there in society, because we are innovating things which will solve problems of people. If we live with people for 6 months, I'm sure a lot of innovation can happen. I don't know if you have heard about this CTARA, CTARA, Center for Technology Alternatives in Rural Areas. This is a department in IITs. In IIT Mumbai, Dr. Ganesh Subramaniamji is there. So we discuss a lot about this exposure for IIT students, where they go stay in the villages, not 1 day, 2 day, but they stay in the houses of people to really find out what challenges are there. And from there, lot of innovation happens. And some of these innovations also are taken as big products at government level for mass implementation, and also as commercial products in many cases. So this is the power of experiencing firsthand. So this is proposed in NEP when we have this Bharat-centric education. Also, there is a lot of emphasis about knowing who we are. That also helps in providing solutions for our society. So this is one side of how research can happen. So the foundation of research, we can say. Then the multidisciplinary approach also has structural change in colleges. Today, there are many colleges which are single discipline. That is, you will see one nursing college or one, some catering college or some professional college, BBM college. They are single, like you will see, in very small site, they would have built some 3-4 stories and one college is running. So all those colleges will cease to exist. And the policy says that we should have multidisciplinary big colleges where people from different disciplines should work together and do research, because research cannot be only for one discipline. We cannot have research only in microbiology or only in electronics or only in one field. We need people from all the fields, and I'm sure you all know this much better, because from different streams people might be working on projects. So this is one structural change which policy suggests, that we should have multidisciplinary approach for research. Another thing which this policy states is about types of universities. So there are 3 types of universities recommended in this policy. One, there's type 1, which is research university, where lot of work happens on research and some teaching. Then there are teaching universities, where there's focus on teaching, but lot of research also happens. And then there are colleges, where teaching happens and research is also done. So this 1, 2, 3, type 1, 2, 3. So these recommendations are there. So this gives us the focus of the policy, that research is very important, this multidisciplinary approach, plus how the focus on teaching and research should be balanced. If we look at today, maybe you might be discussing this in your innovation cell. In India, there are around 50,000 patents which are filed. Do you know how many patents are filed in China? There are 15 lakh. Okay, that is the difference of research happening in our country versus our neighbor China. In that 50,000, majority of it is coming from all the government organizations like DRDO, defense, and all that. There is a minuscule, very small part which is coming from colleges or universities. There is large part from government, and another important part from industry. In this also, lot of these things are coming from NRIs. Okay, so this is the status of research in our country today. Even the budget spending is less. So these things will be revived. The policy also proposes a different patent structure for universities. Then there will be one national research foundation will be formed, which will do multiple things. It will set up collaboration centers among different universities in that region. So it will be an independent center focused on research that will be funded by government. And that center plus general NRF activities will have the competitions, will do seed funding for many research projects. It will, also have a collaboration. It will be like a center point, coordination point for industry and institutes, and also research organizations. So we have pure research organizations. So all of them will come together and work on specific problems, large problems or specific problems. So this is proposed in NRF. NRF will also do monitoring of research projects. So it is not just that they will give some seed funding, but they will make sure that the research projects continue and research work happens. So these are, I would say, some recommendations coming from the Research Foundation. Now, apart from this, there are many changes which are suggested in policy, which will transform education from grassroots level, that is from our early childhood education till education of like at a graduation level, post graduation level, and also at doctorate and postdoctoral level. So at all levels, education will change. From your innovation center perspective, you should read there is one chapter on the whole focus on research. So National Research Foundation, what it will do, how it will be beneficial for you, and how your cell and your college can benefit from this. So with this, I will stop, and I can take questions from you.
Priyanka madam, will you take questions?
Yes, sir. I'll.
Yeah, thank you, sir. We have a couple of questions, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a cross-departmental specialization included in NEP?
When you say cross department, what do you mean by this? Is like mechanical and electrical? You mean like that?
Sir, actually, this question
Yes,
is,
sir. Yes, sir.
yeah.
Yes, sir. Exactly. Exactly. Can a student who has studied maybe 2 years of mechanical, he realizes that no, there is a great demand for computer science. Can he switch over at that stage to computers?
So this is I would say my answer. This NEP doesn't talk in such a detail because this is an implementation problem. What I feel is it will not be so fluid. There will be structure to learn, but the type of subjects you can choose will be more holistic. So we will still, like in engineering, we still need these 3 years or 4 years to specialize in one branch, right? That is what we are. If somebody is studying mechanical engineering or electrical or computer science, we need depth in that area. So that will be required. If our course structure has, say, first year foundational education, which we have now, right? Engineering, our first year is actually common across all. So those subjects can be uh, more can be redefined, I would say, can be more even fundamental. Second year, if the whole engineering syllabus frame is structured in this way, that foundational, and then we have the preparatory second year, and after that children can choose the engineering departments. This is also possible. Like if you know in IISERs, IISER, you heard about IISER, right? Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research. So IISERs are pure science institutes. IISERs have first 2 years common. Only in third year, children can choose the area what they want to, specialization. And that too, they have all flexibility. They can choose any subject which they like, but slowly they can build the specialization for their area. Okay, so this system is existing in IISERs today. I'm sure we have to see in professional courses how much of this flexibility we can bring. I would say there is possibility of having some flexibility to choose things even at slightly later stage.
Okay, this is the next question. When will the new policy be implemented?
The implementation will be a long process. Some things have already started and implemented. Like, for example, the policy has recommended change the name of ministry from MHRD to Ministry of Education. Now, this was the first change which has happened. Now you see that, right? Ministry of Education. Similarly, like there is another change of PU board. You know PUC, right? PU board is a state board. Now our Karnataka government will be the first government to implement national education policy recommendations. A big plan is created. Similarly, Uttar Pradesh has created, Madhya Pradesh has created. So a lot of governments are creating the plans for implementation. So there are some things which are at national level, central level, like policy recommends dissolving UGC, AICTE and all those bodies and making only one body for higher education. So work has already started for that. Similarly, state level, PU board, maybe next year itself, they will merge it with secondary board. And then 9th to 12th will be high school. So like these changes, which are, even if they are structural changes, but very much possible and required as a first step, will be done immediately. Immediately means next year, 2 years. Similarly, the new curriculum and books for NCRT, the early childhood education books have already come. The curriculum, not books have come, but the curriculum framework has come. Next year, books will come. For in May 2022, new books for schools will come. So like this, changes will happen. Now for engineering and high school, higher education, when will we have these new courses and new subjects? Maybe it will take time. I'm sure by then most of you would have finished your engineering.
Yeah, yes, sir. So the next one. Multidisciplinary may lead to the close down of a lot of colleges. So what will happen to those faculty? Can only big institutions cater education to all the people?
See, this whole focus, no, we have to understand policy normally gives the direction. Okay. The implementation part will be with specific agencies and governments. They will consider all the points, like what is the impact. But just think, you are all engineers, and even, I do a lot of work on machine learning and AI. What type of problems are we solving now with machine learning, which were not solved earlier with static logic in computers, or even say with mechanical automation? If you see the evolution of industry from the steam engine to electricity, steam engine got all the automation of physical work, right? Then electricity got mass production and formation of industries. Because of electricity, it was possible. Then came the third revolution, which was of computers, which started automating mundane things, which are repetitive. But with ML and AI, lot of thinking jobs or thinking work will get automated. So with AI and ML coming and being central stage in 21st century, people with single discipline knowledge will have no job. So if students study single discipline, all ML programs will do their job. That much automation will happen. So the focus of NEP is how can we create children and human beings who are multidisciplinary. Okay, so I just gave a long answer, but you should understand the base of this thought. Why multidisciplinary? Now, what is the ramification of it? We have to see, and I'm sure we have many agencies who will take care of that.
Okay, so the next one, what are the drastic change in higher education for the future?
You're saying in India or generally you're asking?
That's the question by the student. In general, they have taken up.
Sir, with relevance to national education policy, the question is with relevance to national education policy, what changes that it can bring in higher education for future? That is the question. I believe this is what he is predicting.
Okay, so see one, or rather I would say there are these three major changes which will come. One is liberal education. That means you can choose the subjects and you can do, say, BA. Everybody will get the degree BA, that is Bachelor of Liberal Arts. In that, you can choose the topics. You can say I am major in maths and minor in tabla or music or whatever. That is possibility, right? So this is one major change. Then multiple entry and exit points is another major change, because you can take a break from education and join back. And there are, this is not so easy. It is easier said than done. So we have to have systems where there is something called ABC, that is academic bank of credits. That whole thought is there, where children can get credits, and these credits will be part of their bank. Today bank is only for money, right? So this will be bank of credits. So our number of credits will be taken care to have re-entry into education, and so many other things are planned. So this is another big change. Then multidisciplinary approach will be one big change. Focus on research will be one big change. And then like you said, the small colleges will go and big universities will come. That is one big change. And I forgot to tell you one more thing. This policy also recommends that foreign universities like Stanford or MIT and all can open their centers in India. That means we might have Stanford University in Bangalore.
Okay, how many years will it take for the transformation to take place, sir?
The full transformation will take around 20 years, but most of the things we should have finished by 2030.
One more question.
Sir, according to Stephen Hawking, AI will be the major reason for the destroy of Earth. What's your opinion about this?
So Stephen Hawking is, he's God in thinking. So I think we should all believe him.
We have one more question which could not be posted in chat box. What is the necessity of getting a 4-year degree when you can get it for 2 years?
Which degree you're saying, engineering or any other degree?
Engineering degree, sir.
How can you get it in 2 years?
Sir, after 2 years breakage, if they can take it again.
Oh, that way you're saying. Okay. So after 2 years, you will not get engineering degree. You will get a certificate. Okay. That certificate is not degree certificate. It says that you have completed 2 years.
That means it's not a degree certificate.
It is not a degree cert. If you do 3 years, you will get a diploma. If you do 4 years, you will get a degree.
Sir, what is the difference, sir? Diploma to engineering, almost they study the same syllabus, just the name 3 years of diploma and the 4 years of engineering degree.
I will answer slightly differently. I was talking with Dr. Karmarkar from IIT Chennai for one of our programs, and we were discussing with one batch of students, and they asked, what is the difference between IIT and other engineering colleges? So he gave one answer to them. That course is almost similar. You do say what you are doing, they are doing. It is almost similar. He said what he feels, there are two main differences. One is the peer group, students who come to IIT. There is huge learning from them. Second thing, what he said was the research focus of IITs. The professors have to do a lot of research work, which brings newness to studying. And then the collaboration, what the college has. So now I'm just giving a slightly different answer. Now for a diploma college and an engineering college, even if you study say same subjects, you have diploma in mechanical engineering or diploma in electronics engineering, subjects might be same, but the depth in which you study, the way you study it and the way you apply it will be different.
Okay, Priyanka ma'am has a question now.
So this question has been sent by a student to me. Would NEP 2020 allow students the subjects they need to study based on their interest in professional courses?
I would think so. When I say this answer, I would think so because we don't have the framework out. But what NEP recommends is we should have balanced development for creativity, for research. Today, if we see, a lot of focus in engineering or STEM education, what we call. In the STEM education, a lot of focus is on left brain development. So for engineers, okay, this I can also say, being a senior leader in Nokia, what we do when, what even I have gone through and what the way we see when engineers come. When fresh engineers are there, they're good in the subject, but we do a lot of development of certain skills which are linked with EQ, the emotional quotient part, for them to become more successful in work and also in life. So this education is happening in industry today, and some of them are even missing it because it doesn't happen in the company for them. So if we give an all-round education in professional college, we will have better engineers who are more all-round, who are have both EQ and IQ developed in a balanced way. So this is a generic view of NEP. Will children be able to choose the topics? I think so. Like, for example, there will be basket of topics in humanities. Some children may take, say, music or history or things which are more on the emotional side, even on some aspects of leadership development. And then they have professional courses on engineering.
Thank you, sir. You have taken up almost all the questions, sir. Now, I request Ratnakar sir to render a vote of thanks.
Good afternoon to all. It gives me immense pleasure to express my sincere gratitude to Sri Gajanan Londhe sir for accepting our invitation and delivering a wonderful, thought-provoking talk on national education policy. Sir was involved in so many steps about this national education policy. I thank you. I on behalf of the ATME College of Engineering, I on my own behalf and on behalf of all the faculties and the student participants here, I thank you for this wonderful occasion. Thank you very much, sir. We look forward to hear from you on several more occasions like this. Thank you very much, sir.
My pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ratnakar sir. Thank you, Gajanan sir. Thank you everyone for joining this session. I conclude the session now, and I also say that students, you will be given a different session link for the Monday. Please join early. We shall make the session more fruitful. Thank you. Thank you everyone.
Thank you all. Thank you very much.